Can you spell your first and last name?
My first name is Gerry, Gerry. Farrell is my last name, Gerry Farrell. And especially with a G for Gerry Farrell, because I was in about second grade or first grade and my teacher wrote down Jerry, and my mother said, your name doesn't come from Jeremiah, it comes from Gerald, and I want you to spell it Gerry, and since then, my name is Gerry. My mother told me that.
How many years in Delmar?
79 and a half years I've been in Delmar. I was born and raised here, so I'm farmed here I'm 60 years on my farm now. So I've been here a long time.
What brought you to Delmar?
What brought me to Delmar, I was born here. I didn't have a choice. I was born in Delmar. I was born in Macokota, but I lived in Delmar all my life.
What was life like growing up in Delmar?
What was life like growing up in Delmar? It was quiet. We, on one night of the week, we used to have down in the parochial hall down there, we had a movie, 10 cents for a movie. And we didn't have movies on television, we didn't have television. But 10 cents it would cost us to go to a movie down in the old hall that's been torn down when the new one was built down there. And that was it was crowded. Everybody would go because that was the only movie that we got to go to. That was, you have movies on TV now, and we didn't have TV. We had radio, but it wasn't near as good as a radio today and all the local news that we get today. So that was a big event to have Tuesday night, I think, was 10 cents for a movie. And then we had ball games. When I was at home, we always had a ball game going out in the yard. There wasn't ball games like you have Little League and things. We didn't have that. We just had our family. It was a family. I had 4 brothers and 2 sisters, and we had our own little ball game and going to school. And we just grew up with things that were not quite as modern as they are today. The baseball diamond that we had when I was young and I used to watch the old kids play was a cow pasture. We didn't have the ball diamond that's out here. We didn't have that. It was just grass out there. You had a ball diamond down by where Goodall's lived, and there was a creek behind it and everything. It just it's not as modern as it was here today. And the gymnasium was built in '53, and the first games were played in 1954 in the gymnasium that you have today.
What is special about Delwood to you?
About Delmar. It was special to the family, and you knew everybody. And the church, we went to the St. Patrick's Church, which is still there, and I still go to. And it was family and friends and neighbors, and it was all closer together then. You always visited your neighbors a lot. I remember the first television that I watched was at a neighbor's house, and we would go down there after the school bus came in and let us off. We'd quick change our clothes and run a half a mile down there, and we would watch Howdy Doody or some other little program on black and white TV with about a screen about a foot square. That's all there was. We didn't have the big TVs and the color TV and everything, but we thought that was quite something.
If you guys want to ask Gerry too, if something that he says makes you curious, you can always ask him a kind of follow-up question if you want to know more about what he's saying. So if you want to ask him about the movies or the TV or anything like that, you can ask him that too. Don't feel like you have to just follow the plans.
Any more of them?
They're so good at sharing.
That's big for you, isn't it?
How have you seen Delmar change over time?
Well, it changed over time back when I was young, we had 2 taverns, and they weren't just a tavern, they'd be the tavern on the north end down there that's closed now, and they had root beer floats. That was the big thing. We'd go in there and they had a keg, A&W root beer keg, and that was when we were pretty young. And they started downtown. I can barely remember a little gas pump outside, right beside where the tavern, the North Tavern is. And Rasmussen in Macokota that turned into Brad Deary, they started in Delmar in their car dealership years ago, back in probably in the 1940s, which is a long time ago. They had their first service station and car sales down here in Delmar. It turned into Brad Deary and Macokota with thousands of cars up there sold now. They bought from Rasmussen Motor Sales. And there was grocery stores, 2 grocery stores downtown. Most of the time there was always 2 grocery stores. And everybody just bought their groceries in Delmar. And it got to be the supermarkets and everything, and the little grocery stores couldn't survive. There was too much competition, and the selection was better, and everything was a little better. You go to the bigger cities and get the super values and all the big grocery stores. So,
What do you have? What memories do you have of Delmar?
growing up, and I was in a play whenever there was a play going on. I enjoyed that. I was a Scottish Highlander in my senior play, and I wore a little short Scottish kilt, like the girls, it was a little short kilt, and I remember that, and I remember having the play, and playing baseball. I remember my first game of playing high school baseball when some of the kids that were seniors didn't come back from they had a day off, so I got to play, and we won the game, my first game. First game I got to play, we won 1-0. I'll never forget that day. I got to play baseball when I was a freshman with my oldest brother, who was a senior. That was, I'll never forget that. It was fun playing with my brother.
What makes you stay in Delmar?
Well, I started farming. I grew up in the farm with my folks, my parents, west of Delmar, and then I started farming. Actually, before I was married, I started farming on my aunt and uncle's farm east of Delmar. They didn't have any children, so they needed somebody to take their farm over, so I went down, and I've been there 60 years in the same house. We got married, and we came home from our honeymoon, and we went in the house, and I've been there ever since. My wife passed away 6 years ago, but I've been in the same house for 60 years. I know, I should be moving, shouldn't I? Better get out of there. I don't do the farming anymore. I help, but I don't do the farming. I just live there, and my son does the farming.
What makes Delmar feel like home?
What was Delmar like, what?
What makes Delmar feel like home?
I think that the school, and we have a very active Lions Club, and I'm involved in most everything that the Lions Club does, and it's a camaraderie with the Lions members and the church. I've been a member of the church all my life, and I remember going to First Communion there and confirmation, and we were married in Macokota, where my wife came from, but otherwise we've always lived in Delmar, and our kids were all baptized in Delmar and everything, and the church is, all our friends in church, some of the same people that we grew up with. There was 4 families in Delmar that went to the same church, and we've had picnics together. Instead of going to ball games, we had picnics on Sunday, and we'd go to a different park about maybe in the summertime, we'd go to picnics a lot. And picnics were the big thing, and then run up and down and discover things on the hills and down at Eagle Point Park, and we had a camaraderie with those people too, the 4 families that went to church together and did everything together. Probably a clique or a clan. Probably wasn't very good. We kind of separated ourselves from the rest of the people. We always had a good time though.
Can you tell me about the street you live on?
About the what?
Street you live on.
The street I live on, it's a gravel road. And I told my aunt, when I lived with my aunt for over a year after I started farming, and I said, before I quit farming, they'll probably blacktop this road, and I don't think it's going to happen. I thought, well, I'll live on a blacktop road someday, but that won't happen. It's a gravel road, and it's gonna be a gravel road. And my grandkids come from Des Moines, and one grandkid wrote a little story one time. When we come to the cemetery south of Delmar, and we know we're gonna turn toward Grandpa and Grandma's house, and the golden dust flies up when they go down the gravel road, he says. He made a little story out of it. And then they come to the...
Oh, there's no, okay, sorry. Travis is not in here?
They come to the house, and he told about I made a place just for the grandkids in my barn where they could just have a kind of a hideout. So they go up in the barn and they had kind of a hideout. So they're on the gravel road, but it's fine. We have to push the snow once in a while, but it's a gravel road, and I guess it always will be. I lived on the highway west of Delmar first. That's where we were on the pavement west of Delmar, but I'm on the gravel now.
Can you tell me about the history of Delmar?
Well, the history of Delmar, they had a hotel down here at one time. They had a hotel down here at one time, and there was 2 gas stations. The Hanrahan family, as long as I can remember, had a gas station. And Dean DeHaven is a descendant of the Hanrahans family, and he still has where the buses are. And then the other gas station was over here where Casey's is. There was 2 gas stations, and they survived. The first gas station over this way was a room. It was only about from here to that wall. It wasn't a very big room inside, but they sold Sinclair gas, and Hanrahan's always had standard gas. And that was they had 2 taverns. It was almost always 2 taverns, and there'd be a card game going in the taverns most of the day. People, older retired people would be in there for a card game, and then at night some other people. 2 grocery stores, gas stations, hotel, and always a post office. So it was, that's the history of Delmar. Has changed a lot. Now there's hardly a business open. Try to keep a tavern open, but they don't last for long. I guess we don't drink enough beer here, do we? We have to start drinking more beer, and then we keep a tavern open. But the only place you can get beer is to go to Casey's and buy beer. I've heard somebody say that. You come to Delmar, come to visit, and we can't buy any beer. I said, well, come to my house. We got beer in the basement for the kids and the grandkids.
What do you want Delmar to have like or look like in the future?
I would really like to have a small restaurant, sandwich shop. I wouldn't miss a tavern because I don't frequent a tavern, but if I could just have a place where you could go and have a sandwich, and I would go quite often because I'm widowed, alone, and so I would go to have a sandwich quite a bit, probably. I get along at home the way I am, but I would probably go quite a bit. And keep everything going, the park, everything that we have in the park. I like, keep all the activities that we have going, the Delmar Development and the Lions and the churches, and we always have a lot of things going. And we're pretty good at having events scheduled in town, so we're a few more things which could add to it, but we have a big car show, I don't know if you've been to our car show, but that's big, and we have a lot of things going. We have a blood drive, and we're always happy to do that for the Mississippi Valley Blood Center. We get a lot of people come to that, so just to keep the town going.
There's questions on the back of that too. Tessa.
What do you wish people knew about Delmar?
What do the people know about Delmar?
What do you wish people knew about Delmar?
I wish they knew that it was a real quiet community, and most neighborhoods are clean and well kept, and we have new houses here and there around town. Up on the pavement going north of Delmar, we have some new houses, and I wish we could have more new houses and have more people, and I would really love to keep the school going for as long as it can possibly go, eternity, I guess. And the church on each side of the school, so it's a busy center right here, the center of the community with the Grossman Hall down there and 2 churches in the school right here in this little area. And we could keep them going.
If you could leave Delmar, would you?
I had to be under different circumstances. My brother, who passed away a year ago in last November, different people would say, well, when you retire, you're coming to Maquoketa. And we both said, when we retire, we're going to stay in Delmar. And he didn't get, well, he retired, and we both stayed there. But if they moved, we both lived on a farm, and we both said, you know, we would stay in Delmar because we enjoy the people. And we can, you got your car, and if, you know, get on the highway, you can go any place. So we, it's not like you're tied down. Your car will take you any place quickly these days. So.
What makes you stay in Delmar?
I stay in Delmar for the people, I think. My friends, and the church, and the school. I was on the school board for 18 years, and I was instrumental in having our school kids go to Maquoketa on a whole grade sharing, because when it came time for the kids that were going to school in Elwood and we didn't have enough courses, we couldn't offer enough courses. Like when my daughter was a senior and she was the only one in chemistry class. And that's not very good to be, you have to have competition in your school class to really do a thorough job of teaching. And so it came time that we just couldn't have as many course offerings. We had a teacher teaching English 1 and English 2 maybe the same time. And we just didn't feel that that was fair to the kids. And to get that better high school education, we can do a good job in the elementary. But to get a good high school education, we thought we needed to go to a larger school. And Maquoketa, we figured, would be there forever. So I was instrumental in helping get that project going. We considered going a different direction, but it just looked like Maquoketa was going to be the last move. That there would always be a school, high school there.
If you close your eyes and think of Delmar, what comes to mind?
If what?
If you close your eyes and think of Delmar, what comes to mind?
What keeps them?
If you close your eyes and think of Delmar, what comes to mind?
Well, sometimes when I close my eyes, nothing happens. I had an aunt that said one time, if you close your eyes, what color do you see? I don't see any color, so I don't know. My aunt said, you got to see a color when you close your eyes. I said, I don't. And I don't know. If I close my eyes, what do I see of Delmar? I would say that if I would keep my eyes open and look around, I would see many things happening in Delmar, some new houses and some nice people moving in, and just like you girls, good people that would come to school. And I would keep my eyes open to see what I was missing. I would close my eyes, I wouldn't see it. So I gotta keep my eyes open and see what's going on.
That's good, great. You guys, I think we have time to just ask Gerry if there's anything else that he wants to tell us that we missed, that we didn't ask him about. Because we have to let him go in just a little bit, because I think we have one more person.
Can you tell me about a time when you were living in Delmar?
When I've been living in Delmar,
Like, can you tell me about a time when you were on the farm?
well, you know, one of the things I remember that one of the things I really would like to do would be to sing. And I got into music class, and I knew the teacher well, and I was singing, and she said, "Who is that singing off key?" That was the end of my possibility of being my singing career. I thought, well, I was going to try and sing. I missed that. And that would be up in when we first had hot lunch here. We had it upstairs in the room on this corner over here. And that was our first hot lunch when I was in about fifth or sixth grade. We used to have the swings that you have down there. We had old swings out here, and they would really swing high. They had a long chain, and they would really swing high. We used to have a lot of fun doing that. And different things that happened in Delmar that I know one time the teacher sent us outside because we misbehaved, and we're supposed to run around the school. And neighborhood boy that lived over not too far away here, we ran around a couple times, and he just ran home. He ran home and never came back. That was the end of his school day. That was the end of his school day. He ran around, he lived about 2 blocks away, and he ran around and he went right home.
Great. Thank you so much, Gerry. Is there anything else that you want us to know before we let you go? About
I enjoyed sports a lot when I was in school. I enjoyed the sports a lot in school, and I had a lot of people that I enjoyed from high school that we're still friends with. When you grew up in Delmar, it's a small class, and sometimes you remember those people, your friends, and you two are friends now, and hopefully you'll be friends all your life. You'll always remember your friendship in school, and that's what I did too. I remember the people in my class and the people in the class above and below me, and we're still really good friends, and that's important to keep good friends. It's good for your future that know that you have really good friends you could count on. And you girls could be good friends all your lives. Just like I'm good friends with some of my classmates yet. Always kind of looking out to take care of them. Watching out for them, and they're watching out for you.
great.